Hello everyone. Today we're going to be looking at linear equations, three different ways of locating the slope and y-intercept. So the first scenario we're going to be looking at is called slope-intercept form, something that most middle school and high school students learn. It's the easiest formula to handle because the slope and the y-intercept are right in front of your eyes. And the formula is very simple. Y equals mx plus b. Now, what are the two letters that we're concerned about? The m and the b. So the m is our slope and the b is our y-intercept. It's literally right in front of your eyes. Look how simple that is. So in our first example, when we see y equals 2x plus 9, what's our m? Well, it looks like it's the 2. What's our b? It's the 9. So the 2 is my slope and the 9 is my y-intercept. It doesn't take you more than 10 seconds to figure out what's your slope and y-intercept when you are given a linear equation in this form. The last example, we have fractions here. Does that change anything? Absolutely not. Steps are exactly the same. So looks like this is my m and this is my b. So 3/4 now is my slope and 11/12 is my y-intercept. Does not take long. If I were to graph these two lines on the same graph, we'll do that right now. So this green line is our y equals 2x plus 9 equation, and this orange line here is our y equals 3/4 x plus 11/12 line. As you could tell, I wrote it in decimal form, but remember, fractions and decimals are equivalent as long as the value is the same. So I can interchange them at any time, it's the exact same thing. The second scenario we're going to be looking at is called standard form. It's called standard because it is the basic form of a linear equation, but is a little harder to determine the slope and y-intercept. And the formula for it looks like this. ax plus by equals c. Now, we're going to do something here. Let's take this formula and solve for y. This will transform the formula into slope-intercept form. So if we take this formula, we're going to solve for y, which means we have to get rid of this term. So I got to subtract this term on both sides of the equation. When I do that, I end up getting this. by equals negative ax plus c. One more step. To get y by itself, I have to divide both sides by b. So that means I divide this by b, and this by b. When I do that, I end up getting this. Y equals negative a over bx plus c over b. Does this formula look familiar? It should. This is actually slope-intercept form. Y equals mx plus b. Now do you see it? What we did now is we transformed our standard form of a linear equation to the slope-intercept form of a linear equation. Now, you're not going to do this on every single step. We did this to show you that if you have an equation in standard form, negative a over b will always be your slope, and c over b will always be your y-intercept. Always. The only thing we have to do before this is we just have to determine or figure out what's my a, b, and c of an equation in standard form. And that's what this note says. So remember, we are not doing this every single time. We are just showing you this now so that you can see how we went from this to this and that this always works as long as it's in this form. So that's what this note says here to the right. All we need to do in order to solve standard form equations is step 1, we have to determine what our a, b, and c are. And then 2, we have to plug them into the formula above the arrows in these two rectangular boxes right here. That's it. So for example, let's say we're given 2x plus 3y equals 9. Well, first, what's a, b, and c? So we're going to compare this to this. And when we do that, we end up getting my a is 2, my b is 3, and my c is 9. Now, I take these three letters and I just plug them in here to get my slope and y-intercept. So, negative a over b is this, and c over b is this. So that means that my slope is negative 2/3 and my y-intercept is 3. So it's not as difficult as it looks. We do this every single time. One more example. Negative 3x plus half of y equals 4. This fraction means nothing. Steps are the same. So again, first step, what's our a, b, and c? My a is negative 3, my b is 1/2, and my c is 4. So now we need to plug these three letters in here. So my negative a over b ends up actually being this, negative 3 over 1/2 is this. And my c over b, 4 over or divided by 1/2. So now we know that a number divided by a fraction is the same thing as that number times this reciprocal. Reciprocal meaning flipping the numerator and denominator in a fraction. So when we end up doing this, negative 3 divided by negative 1/2 is a positive 6. And 4 divided by 1/2 is 8, actually. So in this case, my slope is 6 and my y-intercept is 8. And the last scenario we're going to be looking at today is called point-slope form. This is used when we are trying to find the equation of a line through a given point with a given slope. The word given means that the problem tells you it, or you could solve it from the problem. Solving this for y will also transform this form into slope-intercept form. So the formula for this looks like this. Y minus y1 equals m times quantity x minus x1. So here, the x1 and the y1 are actually the coordinates of the point given in the problem. And then m is our slope that we have seen in the last two slides. So, for example, find the equation of a line that goes through the point 3, -5 and has a slope of 2. Well, first thing is I got to figure out what these three variables are. I have to figure out what my x1 is, what my m is, and what my y1 is. So my x1 is 3, my m is 2, and my y1 is -5. And that's exactly what we have here when we plug it in. Y minus -5 equals 2 times quantity x minus 3. Now, here's a note. Subtracting a negative is the same thing as adding a positive. And also, we must distribute the 2. Multiply the 2 by each value in the parentheses. We will do both these things in one step. So we're going to change this, and we're going to simplify this. And when we do that, we end up getting this. Y plus 5 equals 2x minus 6. Now I have one more step left because I'm solving for y. So since we need to get y by itself, we must subtract the other term, the 5 here, from both sides of the equation. And that's what we end up doing. So we're going to subtract 5 here, and we're going to subtract 5 here. This will be 0, and we will simplify the rest of this. So what we end up getting is y equals 2x minus 11. Does this jump out at you? Of course it does. This is slope-intercept form. There's the 2, my slope, and the -11, which is my y-intercept. Thank you for listening today, and I hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you for watching our video. Stay tuned for more math topics, and don't forget to subscribe.